Hello everyone and welcome to the Animezilla, and today we're going to be talking about RWBY episode 7 from volume 7. Now, overall this episode was actually really good in my personal opinion, because where the previous episodes have given us a big shock factor towards the end, this episode actually has little tiny details hidden throughout the actual episode, instead of having a big overall shock towards the last few minutes. And I really did appreciate the kind of, not slow downness of shocks, but the more kind of little Easter egg hunt, where you might quickly gloss over one thing, but if you rewatch it, you might see something else. So, we open up with a view of Mantle and how things are looking after the election. Like we know, Jay Squap, or I don't think that's how you pronounce his name, but Weiss's father is actually won, and Robyn hasn't. And we see that there are a lot of scared children, a lot of scared adults even as well, and it's stated that no groups are allowed to gather within Mantle. And there's a curfew, so basically Atlas military are patrolling non-stop. But what this does is it sets up what Robyn and her crew are going to be doing, and how they're going to be doing it in terms of attacking Atlas and basically stopping their supply chain, which is actually very big and a big move on Robyn's part. And personally, I like the way they showed off two of Robyn's crew members and their powers. We get introduced to both Robyn's power, the lady who was attacked last week by Tyrion, that I really do like, but I just can't remember the name of, and a blue-headed lady from Robyn's crew. So let's look into that, shall we? So, here we actually have one of the abilities, and if you look at the lady in the trench coat with the dark blue hair, it looks like she's creating some sort of force field. Now, I remember saying in one of my reviews that basically I thought that two members of Robyn's crew have invisibility. That would have been a bit too overpowered. So what they've actually done is they've created it so that one character has a force field, and within that force field, it basically renders everything inside it invisible to anyone looking in from the outside. So easily 2 people, 3 people, as many people as you like in this force field can be, not seen. Now, I would imagine a skill like this, being quite powerful as it is, and for stealth, probably has its limitations. So the wider the range of the force field, probably the less amount of time they have to kind of keep it up. That's just my personal opinion though. I don't think they've clarified that. So it's either invisibility or it's camouflage. Basically, they're both the same to be perfectly honest. And obviously this character is the one who used this ability when Robyn was confronting Clover, RWBY, and Crow in the snowy area that one episode. Now we go to the girl who was attacked last week, and I'm not really quite sure what to call her ability. But it looks like she's got some sort of absorption power. Hoover. I call it Hoover because it sucks in stuff and then she can obviously take it back out. And we can tell that the power actually allows her to basically take things into her and then spit them back out afterwards. Because if you hear what Ironwood states, he states that Robyn is reselling the supplies that she is basically stealing. Meaning that this ability doesn't disintegrate or destroy the items that she's absorbing. It just kind of stores them inside her invisible storage or herself or whatever it is, her arm, and then she can just poof it back out, which I think is pretty cool. And the more I learn about this character and the more I see of this character, the more I actually really like it. So we have the episode and it's called The Worst Case Scenario, or The Worst Scenario, and this is the reason why. So basically, Weiss's father is now on the council. Okay, that's already quite bad. Robyn is out attacking the supply units. So the providers are not supplying Ironwood with any more supplies until Mantle is brought under control. They don't want to risk their products or their items or their reputation. So they're saying to Ironwood, look, get a hold of Mantle or we're not going to supply anything to you. And this basically stalls the project of the Amity project as a result. So this takes a big hit on Ironwood's part and creates a lot more problems and confusions. Now, the argument between Nora and Ironwood I thought was really good for Nora's character. I like the fact that we're seeing more of a serious side to Nora, as well as the fact that she's showing an empathetic side for her character. She's empathizing and is upset and mad for these characters that are stuck in Mantle, scared and wondering what's going on. And it probably comes from Nora's backstory, because she too is an orphan, if I remember correctly, until she meets Ren. And she basically was a scared, lonely child for the most part. And her knowing that there's quite a lot of those in Mantle at the moment, obviously she wants to protect them. Right, so then, I'm not gonna... Hold on. Yeah. So basically, the scene with Penny's father that we go to, this scene was one of my favourite of the episode. This was both intriguing and heartwarming at the same time, as we learn how Penny was created, and it turns out that her father, the guy in the wheelchair, actually gave Penny part of his aura. So that's maybe why he's not able to walk, I'm not entirely sure, but it's still a nice a nice thing for him to do. You know, it may not be biological father and daughter, but he does see Penny as his own daughter. And we see the emotions, and we get this whole conversation about whether or not she can be terminated and just rebooted afterwards, after everything's been cleared up. And that's where the whole aura thing comes apart. It takes more and more aura from him to bring Penny back time after time. And he fears that he might not be able to do that again if Penny is shut down. So obviously, the worries for Penny at the moment is very high. And speaking of which, we're told that the damage that has been done is actually more of a mental strain than a physical one. And this is very understandable. Penny's a very jolly character, and she loves to have people see her as friends, and she just wants everyone to be happy. And seeing everyone disdain and angry and upset towards her, obviously that would have a huge impact on her character. As well as the fact is, she's just confused at the moment. She hasn't experienced these emotions yet. She may be a very smart AI, but she is very much human-like. Now, the intriguing part of this segment was actually this photo. So, this photo right here. Now, I found this photo to be very intriguing, because is the guy on the right-hand side Watts? Now, if it is Watts, this would explain how he is managing to get past the security system of Atlas very easily, time after time after time. And why it is always old technology that is used and is hacked. Because this photo is said to have been taken a long time ago, meaning that he would have had to have worked on Atlas when the technology was very old and in its early stages. Therefore, he would have access to that information and to that code for the most part. Now, you're probably thinking, but if it is Watts, why is he doing this? Does he just hate Atlas? Is that really much of a reason? Why target Penny so much? Because she's easy. Pause. She is not easy. And that's not the reason. Well, the reason I believe anyway. Let's say this. There was mention of the fact that the Penny project was picked over other projects that were put forward. Maybe the reason why Penny is always a target, from Watts' point of view, is because Watts has some sort of petty grudge against Penny's father for the fact that his idea wasn't chosen over the Penny project. So Watts is kind of going like a spoiled tantrum kid stage where he's basically going, if I can have my way, I'm going to destroy your project all the time, and that will destroy you in time. And yeah, I get it, but that's, maybe that's the reason? Who knows? Again, this might not even be Watts. This character seems a bit sort of not as tanned as Watts is. But the key thing to remember is they actually, when introducing this photo, had this character on the right hand side covered up for the first 30 seconds of Penny's father looking at the photo. So they clearly wanted to cover him up for some reason. But then they just showed him, so that really confused me. It might be, it might not be. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Do you think this is what? We'll have to wait and see. Now, seeing that the main group has all been at odds with their decision about not telling Robyn about Salem and keeping secrets from Ironwood, everyone's kind of stressed out about who should trust who and why they shouldn't trust someone and all of this and all of that. So Blake and Yang basically decide to tell Robyn about Salem, about the Amity Tower, about the communications, about Ironwood's plan for the most part, and it appears that Robyn's semblance has something to do with detecting whether or not someone is lying or telling the truth. Now, if you're holding her hand, she can tell whether you're telling the truth or lying. There's a bit of a weird ability for a visual anti to have, but her combat skills very much make up for the fact that her ability isn't suited for combat. I find her combat skills to be very impressive, Robyn's that is, and yeah, I find that this ability is okay in certain situations. Like, for example, if she gets on the seat at the council and someone's been talking and she has a semblance fired up and they shake her hand or she needs to strike a deal, okay, that works. But any other situation, like, is a very specific skill to have. And I just find that maybe it won't be as good as it needs to be. But it is great to kind of use for making allies and knowing if you can trust someone or not. So that was a nice little thing they dropped. Now, another thing I really did like about this episode was the Oscar and Ironwood conversation. So then, we find out that the Staff of Creation, I'm pretty sure it's a staff, not spear. I'm pretty certain it's a staff. I might be wrong. Do apologise if I am, but I'm going to call it the Staff of Creation at the moment, is actually the thing that is keeping Atlas in the sky. So that's basically what's keeping it afloat. We all thought that it was a gravitational dust type of thing, which, that's thinking about it, that probably wouldn't be ideal because there'll be a lot of stuff to hold it up with. But at the same time, that's great. But what if the crew need it? And it was Ozpin's idea to use the staff to do this. And the fact that they can't use the staff for Amity Tower is because you can only use the staff for that function once. If that's a lie by Ironwood, then I don't know why he would lie. Because getting Amity Tower in the sky is like key for him. That's something he really, really wants to do. So if he could do it easily, I'm pretty sure he would. So basically, we're in a situation now where the crew can't take the staff because Atlas would fall and crumble, and then Mantle will probably get the worst of it, it'll get squashed. And this is something I do actually want to see. I want to see Atlas crumbling and falling by the end of this volume, or the next volume. And you're probably thinking, alright, Team RWBY won't do that. They won't, no. Unless RWBY goes dark, which I don't actually see happening at all. But I think the person that might take it would be Cinder or Neo. Now, remember, we haven't seen Cinder or Neo for a very long time. And this would be a great way to boost their characters back into fan favourites and into sort of like some form of credibility when they return. Like, can you imagine if Neo bypasses all of the security and just goes yoink, and then walks out, and then you just see the whole thing just crumble and fall, and that's how the volume ends. I think it'll be a little bit anticlimactic, but I think at the same time it'll be pretty good. Now, we do also learn that Ironwood is somewhat scared of Salem. This is understandable. We all kind of thought this. And it's more to the fact that Salem has lost her humanity. And she probably doesn't feel fear. Plus, Ironwood knows that he got overwhelmed in the Fall of Beacon by Salem and her minions and Grimm. No matter how much military might that he had and how confident he was no match for her. And this is part of the reason as to why I believe, or why he believes even, that she must be stopped. And I love the fact that Oscar in this episode shows some great maturity in this scene by stating that the path that Ironwood is taking or following isn't a good one and it can only lead to ruin. I thought that was a very good line, and honestly, the symbolism between Osbin and Ironwood here that were on the show in this episode were actually really similar. Because what Ironwood is doing is basically what Osbin was doing for the most part in the same sort of situation. When we're talking about the handling Salem, Ironwood was kind of doing most things on his own, but he's trusting a few more people. Now, Osbin obviously didn't trust a lot of people, but he, tried to do everything on his own. And if you carry too much stuff on your own, you're not going to be able to do anything. I love the fact that if you look at the Fate Stay Night series, if you've ever watched that, the main character in it is Shiro. He tries to help everyone, but he never manages to save anyone. That's a good line that I like from that show, and I feel like that can apply here with Ironwood's character. He's taken on too much, and maybe that is just a little bit too much. That was a really bad phrase, I do apologise, but you kind of get what I'm saying. So, the ending of this episode wasn't a big dramatic cliffhanger. Honestly, it didn't actually compare to hardly anything that we saw in this episode. However, that's okay, because the whole episode has been giving us these small good hints and key moments that we can talk about, and hopefully these things will play a big role in the future episodes. So the next order of business is that we should be going to the Schnee household, where Ironwood must defend his seat on the council. And this should be interesting because obviously we know the rivalry between Weiss's father and Ironwood. Maybe someone else on the council isn't happy with the way Ironwood is handling the situation. Obviously Ironwood is called for martial law and is trying to capture Robyn Hill. So all of these factors and interesting things might add up to something quite big and quite dramatic happening in the future episodes. So overall, I honestly thought this episode was fantastic. It was more of a build-up episode, but it had a lot of key moments and dropped a few good little bombs every now and again to help us speculate on and to have a good think. These small shocks and showcases of character growth and character moments were all very welcome, and I would highly recommend anyone who hasn't seen it to go and watch the episode. So, with all that being said, I hope you've enjoyed this review. If you have, hit like. If not, dislike it, but tell me the reason as to why in the comment section down below. Comment all your thoughts about the episode. If there's anything I missed, then let me know, and we'll have a discussion about it down in the comments as well. Subscribe if you're new so you never miss a video from me, and until next time, I hope you'll have an amazing day, and I'll be catching you next time. Bye bye for now.